Hello everyone, this is Shraddha and it is project number 1 of Python is Easy course. It is related to Connect4 game. According to the project, we needed to allow the two players to play a Connect4 game. So it has sorry, it has a set of rules, and if you find 4 in either row, column, or forward diagonal or backward, then it means we have found a winner. So this is main.py file. Scroll down of which function we are invoking. The first function we are invoking is called as drawBoard and accepts a parameter called as fields. Go over. Initially, we have defined a fields variable, which is an array of array. So there are some arrays, each having empty values till these. The number of them are 7. It's basically similar to what we have done in the previous assignment. It's a 7 cross 7 matrix. So we iterate over the row, and if we found the rows are even, then we needed to print spaces. And we also find out the practical row. What is the practical row? It means is mapping these array to this board. So for example, if you see here, this is the board. So it's a 0th index, 1 index, 2nd index, 3rd, 4th. So whenever there is a even index, we have a space. So if we take it out, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. And if you map it to the array that we have, and for that you need to calculate the practical row, which is divided by 2. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the reason we are dividing it by 2 here and again here. And another thing that we have added here is printing the values of x and 0, which we have done. We have made it, if it is x, then it should be displayed in red color. If it is 0, to be displayed in white. This we have achieved using the module called as term color. From term color, we are importing two methods called as colored and cprint. So initially we have defined the color to be white, but if we find that the value of practical row, column and row is x, then we make the color as red. So it's similar to the earlier assignments. Once we have drawn the board, the next method we call as start Connect4. Now this is the method. Inside the method, first we are defining the player and assigning it a value called as 1, because first we are giving the player 1 to tell the column number or start the game. We have defined a flag called as no win and we have set it to true. Okay, and then we have defined the variable called as winner, whose default value is an empty string. We are running a while loop till the no win becomes false. It means that this loop will go on implementing until unless we have found a winner. That is, if either player 1 has scored 4 in a row, column or diagonal, or player 2. So first step is to ask player to enter the column number. Okay, if it is a valid move, what this method does, it's a very simple method. It checks the column number must be between 1 to 7. If it is, it will return true, else it will return false. If it is not a valid move, if the user has entered 8 or 9, then we will say this is not the right move, try again. So if we want to check it out, let's head to the terminal. We'll run python main.py. So starting Connect4, it has drawn the board, that is 7 cross 7. Enter the column number. So if you enter something called as 9, it will say this is not the right move, try again. So this is what we have achieved here. Here also we are making use of the cprint method of term color by defining that it should be bold and it should be of red color. You can change this color Since it's an error kind of message or a warning kind of message, we have displayed in red. So suppose it's a valid movement. Our next task is to update the board, because initially it prints as an empty board. Now we need to fill in the values. So let's go to update board, to which we pass what is the column number the user has entered, and who is the user. Is it a player 1 or player 2? Because if it is a player 1, then we will input X, and if it is a player 2, we'll input 0. Let's head to update board. So here it is. Okay. So first we are finding which is the column where we need to input. So this is the first column, second column. So which is the particular column? Next we are defining an index. So we'll make use of it in the below loop. Then we are reversing the column. The reason for reversing it, because as per the Connect4 rule game, if the user has entered 1, the first, because the user can't enter the row number, they can only enter the column number. And if the user has entered the column as 1, so we need to fall down as we keep on finding empty values, we'll keep on going downwards. So we'll come here, it is empty, we'll check whether the below is empty or not, whether again the third row is empty. So we go down until and unless we find that this is the last row, and we'll fill it from here. So it gets filled up from bottom to top. So that's why we have reversed it. And as soon as we find in the reverse order, as soon as we find that there is an empty string, then we get to know that we need to fill this with the value of either x or 0. If the player is 1, then it is x, else it is 0. And then as soon as we have done that, we need to draw the board. We also need to update this fields array. So we have updated it because we again return back to the original column, and that particular column is updated as the value is being filled. Here we fill the value and we update the fields, and finally we draw the board, and at last of the function we are returning true that the board is updated. And if no index is found, then we return false. This can be the scenario when the user is continuously entering, suppose all these rows are being filled. Now if the user again enter that fill in the first column, then we do not have that particular row in there to fill the values, so we'll return false. So once we have updated the board, we need to draw again. So we draw the board. So the board is updated. If the board is updated, then we execute this block of code, else we print this is not a right move, please try again. And suppose it is a right move by the player, so we're defining a current player, setting it to the player variable tile. If it is x, if it is player 1, else it is 0. And we are updating the player, that we are telling now next who needs to make the next move. It is player 2 if this move was made by player 1, else it will be player 1 if the current move was made by player 2. Then once they have made the movement, we need to check if there were 4 in a row. We go to check 4 in row. What it does is it simply checks if we find 4 elements continuously in a row. We make use of the same fields function. We initialize the counter with 0, and as soon as the counter hits 1, that means we have found the winner. Similarly, we have done the check if 4 in a column. But in order to check 4 in a column, we are creating a column matrix. Now this column matrix, how is it made is we with the help of create column matrix. Now what we are doing is we have this fields. Now inside this field it is column 1, which consists of row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and likewise. We are reversing it such that it will be row 1 and it will be column 1, column 2, column 3, so that we can make use of the same functionality to check for if we have found 4 in a column. So this function create column matrix just makes use of fields and just reverses the indexes and returns that matrix. Now this check 4 in a column will only be executed if we find that 4 there is no 4 in a row. So this is the exact same function, initializing a counter with 0. As soon as we hit 3, then we know that we have found a winner, and then we return the winner. Winner is whichever is the value in that particular index. Here we can see if this I minus 1 is not empty, if the column I, the value in the ith index is not empty and both are equal to each other, then we increment the counter. And as soon as we find that this condition fails, we make the counter again back to 0. Now supposing we have found that there is no 4 consecutive x or consecutive 4 zeros in a column, we need to check if we have found in backward diagonal or in forward diagonal. Go up to check the function. If we find 4 in forward or 4 in backward are similar in execution except the indexes that we compare. While we check in forward slash, which is like this, the forward slash, we check if the we provide them the column matrix that we have that we the same matrix that we use in check to check 4 in a column, where we made c1 c2 c3 inside row 1. We pass that matrix and we pass for which player are we checking, whether it's a 4 or not. Then we check if ij is the player, increment the I and decrement j, increment I by 2, decrement j by 2, then again by 3 you increment the I and you decrement the j by 3. If you plot it out this 7 cross 7 matrix in a pen and paper and check out that indexes, then you will get to know how this conditions works for a diagonal. Similarly, in backward diagonal also, you need to increment the indexes by 1. Go on incrementing by 1. First it is plus 1, then again plus 2, then plus 3. So this helps actually when you have a pen and paper and you plot it out and check out the indexes of the forward and the backward diagonals. Here one new thing that we have made use of is called try except. It's like a try catch block of JavaScript. So what we are doing here is, when the ith values is suppose 5, okay, this will be 5 plus 2 7, and we do not have column of 7 because that index is not present and our length of the list is only 7, which is 0 to 6 index, so it will throw us index out of bound error. So in order to capture that, we're making use of this try and except, and as soon as we find there is an error, we just skip it and go to the next one. The same is done here. So what we are doing is, as soon as we find that there are 4 in our forward or backward diagonal, we return true, else at last of the function we return false. So we check if 4 in backward diagonal, we set the winner as the current player and we set no wins to false so that the loop stops from being iterating. Similarly, if we check if 4 in forward diagonal, we find if winner is equals to x, it means the first player wins, else the winner is the second player. Let us head to the terminal. I'll cancel this and we'll clear the console. We'll start by running python main.py. So it prints starting Connect4 game and it prints the empty board with player 1 turn, enter the column number. We'll enter 1. So I'll see, you will make the x is printed here. For player 2, if you print 0, and there is nothing called as zeroth index, so it will print that this is not a right move. So we'll enter maybe 2. So the board will keep on updating. X0, we'll try to make 4 in a column. So as soon as we find that there is 4 here, it means the winner is player 1. So exactly same way it works for the diagonal or for an horizontal one. So we can also check for the horizontal one. It is 1. It is also 1. It is 2. So as soon as we find there is a consecutive 4x, so it will say the winner is player 1. So this is what we have done for the Connect 4 game as per the project. Thank you.